Welcome to Mind Over Markets. We're truly glad you're here. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that quietly shapes our financial decisions, influences our confidence, and often determines whether we move forward or hold back. Understanding the fear of losing money. This fear affects beginners and experienced investors alike. It shows up when markets fluctuate, when opportunities arise, and when risk enters the picture. But instead of avoiding this fear, today we're going to unpack it thoughtfully, clearly, and step by step. To make this conversation powerful and practical, we've divided this episode into 5 interconnected parts, each building on the one before it. The psychology behind the fear of losing money. How past experiences shape your money mindset. The cost of playing it safe. Building confidence through strategy and preparation. Embracing loss as part of the journey. Each part is intentionally connected. The psychology behind fear influences your mindset. Your mindset shapes your financial behavior. Your behavior affects your outcomes. And your ability to embrace loss ultimately determines your long-term growth. So we encourage you to stay with us until the very end. Every section plays a role in the bigger picture, and understanding the full journey will give you a stronger, healthier relationship with risk and money. If you're ready to shift from fear-driven decisions to confidence-driven strategy, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Fear of losing money is one of the most powerful emotional forces in human decision-making. It shapes how we invest, save, spend, and even how we imagine our future. For many people, this fear is not just about numbers dropping in a bank account. It reaches deeper. It connects to security, identity, survival, stability, and self-worth. Money represents more than currency. It symbolizes safety, freedom, competence, and control over one's life. From an early age, we are taught to associate money with protection and responsibility. We hear phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," and "save for a rainy day." These lessons are well-intentioned, meant to build discipline. Yet alongside responsibility, they can also plant seeds of scarcity and anxiety. Over time, those seeds may grow into a persistent fear of financial loss that quietly influences our decisions. Psychologists describe a key part of this pattern as loss aversion, introduced by behavioral economists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Their research showed that people feel the pain of losing money more intensely than the pleasure of gaining the same amount. Losing $100 hurts more than gaining $100 feels good. This imbalance strongly shapes financial behavior. It explains why people hesitate to sell declining investments, avoid uncertain opportunities, or overreact to short-term market changes. Fear of losing money often appears in subtle ways. Some avoid investing entirely, keeping savings in low-interest accounts because it feels safer, even though inflation reduces purchasing power over time. Others delay starting a business, changing careers, or pursuing further education due to financial uncertainty. Even experienced investors sometimes hold on to losing assets too long because selling would make the loss real. Emotional discomfort overrides rational thinking. At its core, this fear is tied to uncertainty. Money provides options and a buffer against hardship. When we lose money, it can feel like losing control. The human brain prefers predictability. Historically, predictable environments meant safety. As a result, financial risk can trigger stress responses similar to physical danger. Even without immediate threat, the body reacts as if survival is at risk. Yet financial loss is not always failure. Often, it is tuition, the price of experience and learning. Entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators rarely succeed without setbacks. Loss can offer feedback, refine strategy, and build resilience. The difference is not fearlessness, but the ability to manage fear. Growth belongs to those who move forward despite discomfort. The first step in overcoming this fear is awareness. Notice your reactions to financial risk. Do you imagine worst-case scenarios? Do you avoid checking your accounts when markets fall? Awareness creates space between emotion and action. In that space, better decisions can emerge. It is also important to distinguish between reckless and calculated risk. Reckless risk ignores preparation and boundaries. Calculated risk is informed by research, planning, and clear limits. Fear often treats both as equally dangerous, but they are fundamentally different. Learning to separate them builds confidence. Ironically, trying to eliminate all risk can create hidden dangers. Avoiding investment may reduce short-term volatility, but it can also lead to long-term stagnation. Inflation erodes idle savings. Opportunities are missed. Skills remain undeveloped. By focusing only on avoiding loss, we may sacrifice future growth. Fear itself is not the enemy. It evolved to protect us. In financial decisions, it encourages caution and reflection. The problem arises when fear becomes the decision maker instead of an advisor. When it dominates, it narrows perspective and exaggerates threats. When you begin to see fear as information other than a command, you regain control. Ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of losing? The money itself, my sense of competence, others' judgment. By identifying the root, you reduce its power. Overcoming the fear of losing money does not mean becoming careless. It means building a healthier relationship with uncertainty. It means accepting that loss can be part of growth and shifting from "how do I avoid losing" to "how do I learn and adapt." This shift takes reflection, education, and gradual exposure to thoughtful risk. As understanding deepens, fear becomes less paralyzing and more instructive. The journey begins not by fighting fear, but by understanding it. With clarity comes the ability to act from purpose rather than panic. Our fear of losing money does not emerge in isolation. It is shaped gradually, layer by layer, through lived experience, early childhood conversations about money, the emotional tone in our household around finances, moments of scarcity or abundance, economic instability, and personal financial setbacks all leave deep impressions. These impressions do not simply disappear as we grow older. They become part of the internal framework through which we interpret financial risk. For many people, childhood plays a defining role. If you were raised in a household where money was tight, financial stress may have been a constant presence. Perhaps you overheard arguments about bills, witnessed sacrifices being made, or felt tension when unexpected expenses arose. Even if those moments were not directed at you, your nervous system absorbed the emotional charge. Over time, you may have internalized the belief that money equals safety and that losing it equals danger. On the other hand, even in households with financial stability, strong warnings about waste or loss can create anxiety. Messages like "we can't afford mistakes" or "don't take unnecessary risks" may have been practical advice, but repeated often enough, they can cultivate a deep aversion to uncertainty. As children, we rarely question these narratives. We absorb them as truth. Economic events also shape collective psychology. Individuals who live through major recessions, housing crashes, or periods of unemployment often carry heightened financial caution. 4 years afterward, economic instability can create a lasting sense that security is fragile and must be protected at all costs. Even when markets recover, the emotional memory of instability lingers. Generational experiences influence attitudes toward debt, investing, spending, and saving in subtle but powerful ways. Personal financial mistakes can reinforce fear even further. A failed investment, a business venture that did not succeed, a job loss, or years spent repaying debt can create a strong emotional association between risk and pain. The mind begins to generalize. If I take risks, I suffer. Even if the loss was manageable or educational, the emotional imprint may overshadow the lesson. Future opportunities are then filtered through the lens of past disappointment. This is why self-awareness is so important. To understand your relationship with money, you must explore its origins. Ask yourself, what is my earliest memory involving money? Was it calm, neutral, or stressful? Who influenced my financial beliefs the most? What phrases or attitudes did I hear repeatedly? How did my family handle financial setbacks? Often, our answers reveal that many of our financial beliefs are Inherited rather than consciously chosen, we adopt attitudes from parents, caregivers, culture, and society without realizing it. These beliefs become automatic scripts that guide our behavior. But as adults, we have the capacity to examine those scripts and revise them. A powerful shift occurs when you recognize that past experiences inform you, but they do not define you. Your history explains your fear. It does not justify letting that fear control your future. The fact that something once caused pain does not mean it will always do so. Circumstances change, skills improve, knowledge expands. You are not the same person you were when those earlier experiences occurred. Reframing is a crucial part of this transformation. Instead of viewing a financial loss as proof of incompetence, you can see it as data. Instead of saying, "I failed," you might say, "I learned what doesn't work." Instead of believing, "I am bad with money," you can shift toward, "I am developing better financial judgment." This subtle change in language gradually alters emotional response. It is also helpful to distinguish between emotional memory and present reality. Emotional memory is powerful, but it is not always accurate in predicting outcomes. The fear you feel today may be a response to a past situation that no longer exists. By grounding yourself in current facts, your knowledge, your preparation, your support systems, you can prevent old experiences from dictating new decisions. Your money mindset is not fixed. It evolves as you grow, reflect, and gain new experiences. Every intentional financial decision you make builds evidence that you are capable of managing risk thoughtfully. Small, calculated risks can help retrain your nervous system, proving that uncertainty does not automatically lead to catastrophe. By identifying the roots of your fear, you loosen its grip. Awareness transforms vague anxiety into something understandable and workable. And once you understand it, you can begin replacing reactive fear with intentional strategy. Instead of being driven by old emotional patterns, you start making decisions aligned with your current goals and values. The journey toward financial confidence is not about erasing your past. It is about integrating it wisely. Your experiences have shaped you, but they do not have to confine you. When you acknowledge where your fear began, you reclaim the ability to decide where you want to go next. While the fear of losing money can protect us from reckless decisions, it can also quietly restrict our growth. Caution feels responsible. Playing it safe feels mature and disciplined. But over time, excessive safety can become its own form of risk, one that slowly limits potential without drawing attention to itself. When we avoid investing to escape short-term volatility, we may feel secure in the moment. There is comfort in stability and predictability. Yet by staying on the sidelines indefinitely, we often miss the compounding power of long-term growth. Markets rise and fall, but historically they reward patience and strategy. Refusing to participate at all may shield us from temporary declines, but it can also prevent meaningful financial progress. The same pattern appears in entrepreneurship and career decisions. If we decline to start a business because we fear failure, we protect our current savings and avoid uncertainty. However, we may also sacrifice the opportunity to build something valuable, meaningful, and potentially transformative. If we avoid negotiating a higher salary, changing industries, or pursuing further education due to financial risk, we might preserve short-term comfort while limiting long-term advancement. Even hyper-conservative financial strategies carry hidden dangers. Keeping all savings in ultra-safe assets may feel prudent, but inflation gradually erodes purchasing power. Over time, money that appears stable loses real value. Meanwhile, opportunities for a higher returns pass by. Beyond finances, another cost emerges: undeveloped skills. When we consistently avoid uncertain territory, we deny ourselves the chance to strengthen decision-making, resilience, and adaptability. History repeatedly demonstrates that calculated risk drives innovation and progress. Entrepreneurs who built transformative companies faced uncertainty, criticism, and financial setbacks. Investors who achieved substantial returns endured downturns, volatility, and doubt. Progress rarely emerges from absolute safety. It grows from thoughtful action in the presence of uncertainty. Playing it too safe can also create a different kind of pain, regret. Years later, many people reflect not on the risks they took, but on the ones they avoided. The opportunities left unexplored often weigh heavier than financial losses that were experienced and learned from. Regret lingers because it represents potential unrealized, paths never tested, ideas never pursued. This does not mean embracing impulsivity or ignoring prudence. Reckless decisions driven by emotion are not courageous. They are unstable. True growth requires discernment. It requires preparation, research, boundaries, and strategy. The goal is not to eliminate safety, but to balance it with opportunity. To move beyond fear, we must redefine risk itself. Risk is not inherently negative. Uninformed risk is dangerous. Emotional, reactive decisions can lead to harm, but strategic, educated risk, taken with awareness and preparation, is often the bridge between stability and abundance. It allows for expansion while respecting limits. There is always tension between protection and growth. Lean too far toward protection, and stagnation follows. Lean too far toward risk, and instability emerges. Financial strength comes from navigating this tension intentionally. It comes from building a foundation of security while still stepping forward when opportunity aligns with preparation. Growth inevitably involves discomfort. Uncertainty creates tension. Doubt surfaces, but discomfort is not the same as danger. The body may respond to financial uncertainty if it were a threat, yet many uncomfortable situations are simply unfamiliar, not unsafe. Learning to distinguish between genuine danger and temporary discomfort is a powerful skill. When you understand this distinction, your world expands. You stop shrinking your ambitions to fit within the narrow boundaries of fear. Instead, you evaluate opportunities with clarity. You ask, is this risk calculated? Am I prepared? What is the potential upside relative to the downside? What safeguards can I put in place? By approaching risk thoughtfully rather than emotionally, you transform it from an enemy into a tool. It becomes something you manage, not something that controls you. The objective is not to eliminate fear entirely. Fear will always exist, but to prevent it from dictating the size of your life. In the end, excessive safety can quietly limit possibility. Financial growth, professional advancement, and personal development all require stepping into uncertainty at times. When you learn to balance protection with opportunity, you create a path that honors both security and expansion. And in doing so, you allow growth to coexist with wisdom rather than fear. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people believe confidence means feeling no fear at all. In reality, confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the result of preparation. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but preparation reduces uncertainty. The more informed, structured, and intentional your financial decisions are, the less control fear has over you. Education is the foundation. When you understand how investments work, how markets move, and how risk is measured, financial decisions stop feeling like blind leaps into the unknown. Learning about diversification, asset allocation, compounding, inflation, and risk management transforms abstract fear into concrete variables. Knowledge does not eliminate uncertainty entirely, but it replaces vague anxiety with informed awareness, and informed awareness is far less intimidating than mystery. Uncertainty fuels emotional reactions. When you do not know how something works, your imagination fills the gaps, often with worst-case scenarios. Education narrows those gaps. The more you understand historical market behavior, probability, and long-term patterns, the more perspective you gain. You begin to see that volatility is normal, downturns are temporary, and recovery is common over time. Preparation also means setting boundaries for risk. One of the greatest drivers of fear is the belief that everything is at stake. When there are no limits, the mind assumes catastrophic outcomes. Deciding in advance how much you are willing to invest and how much you are prepared to lose changes the emotional equation. Clear limits transform open-ended danger into defined exposure. An emergency fund is another powerful confidence builder. Knowing that you have savings set aside for unexpected expenses reduces the sense that every financial decision could threaten your stability. This cushion acts as psychological security as much as financial security. When your essentials are protected, calculated risks feel far less threatening. Diversification is not only a financial strategy, it is also a psychological one. Spreading investments across different assets, sectors, or markets reduces the impact of any single loss. When one area underperforms, another may perform better. This balance prevents emotional overreaction. Instead of feeling devastated by one decline, you can view it within the context of a broader, balanced portfolio. Tracking progress reinforces trust. When you consistently monitor your financial journey, you begin to notice patterns. You see growth over time, even if it includes temporary dips. These dips stop feeling like disasters and start looking like normal fluctuations. Evidence builds belief. When you have proof that your strategy works over time, fear loses credibility. Structured planning further strengthens confidence. Before making an investment, ask practical questions. What is my goal? What is my time horizon? What is the worst-case scenario? How would I respond if that scenario occurred? Having predetermined responses reduces panic. Instead of reacting emotionally in the moment, you follow a plan created with clarity. Seeking guidance can also accelerate confidence. Financial advisors, mentors, or experienced investors provide perspective that is difficult to access alone. When emotions run high, an outside voice can reintroduce logic. Sometimes fear shrinks simply because it is shared. Hearing that others have faced similar doubts and navigated them successfully normalizes the experience. Preparation transforms risk from a reckless leap into a calculated step. The internal dialogue shifts. Instead of asking, "What if I lose everything?" you begin asking, "What is the probability? What safeguards do I have? What adjustments can I make if conditions change?" The questions become strategic rather than catastrophic. Confidence also grows through small, incremental action. You do not need to take massive risks to build belief in yourself. Start small. Make modest investments. Test your strategy. Observe the results. Each measured step builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear, because what was once unknown becomes understood. It is important to recognize that fear may still appear. Even with preparation, confidence does not erase emotion. It strengthens your response to it. When fear surfaces, preparation provides reassurance. You can remind yourself that you have researched, planned, diversified, and set limits. That reminder restores balance. Over time, structure creates stability. Strategy replaces guesswork. Systems replace impulse. And as systems take hold, fear loses its authority. It becomes a signal to review your plan rather than abandon it. Ultimately, manageable fear allows action. Action builds experience. Experience builds competence. And competence builds confidence. The cycle reinforces itself. When you prepare intentionally and act strategically, you discover that fear does not have to stop you. It can coexist with progress, as long as preparation leads the way. The final step in overcoming the fear of losing money is acceptance. Loss is not a sign that something has gone terribly wrong. It is part of any meaningful financial journey. No path involving growth, investing, or entrepreneurship is completely smooth. Every market faces downturns. Every entrepreneur experiences setbacks. Even the most successful investors have endured significant losses. The difference between those who grow and those who remain stuck is not the absence of loss, but how they respond to it. Acceptance does not mean carelessness. It means understanding that loss is temporary and survivable. Setbacks are events, not permanent identities. When you accept this, you stop being shocked by volatility and start preparing for it. Resilience matters more than perfection. Many people wait for guarantees before taking action, but certainty is rare. The pursuit of perfection often masks fear. Progress requires movement despite uncertainty. A powerful shift happens when you detach your self-worth from financial outcomes. A loss does not define your intelligence or potential. It simply reflects a result, not your identity. When you stop tying who you are to what happened financially, fear weakens. Resilience grows through experience. The first loss may feel overwhelming. Over time, you realize you can recover. Each challenge strengthens your emotional endurance and steadiness. Overcoming the fear of losing money ultimately means changing your relationship with uncertainty. Instead of avoiding it, you learn to manage it. Instead of fearing it, you prepare for it. Risk becomes something strategic, not something controlling. Money will always involve uncertainty, but so do growth and opportunity. When you accept that loss is part of progress, you operate with courage and long-term vision rather than panic. In that mindset, fear no longer dictates your financial future. You do. If this resonated with you, reflect on your own relationship with risk and share your thoughts. Consider subscribing for more insights on building a stronger financial mindset. Thank you for watching.